Rain fell over Bergen, a gray curtain blurring the lights of modern skyscrapers and cobblestone alleys. On the 10th floor of a glass-walled office, Erik Solberg, 35, rubbed his eyes as the cursor blinked on his computer screen. Reports, deadlines, meetings. The life of an engineer at a tech company felt like an endless loop. He glanced out the window, where the city faded into mist, and sighed. Another long day. Another cold coffee on his desk. On the ground floor of the same building, Hassan Al-Masri, 40, pushed a cleaning cart through silent hallways. The smell of disinfectant clung to his hands, and his oversized blue uniform hung loosely on his shoulders. He wiped down desks, emptied trash bins, and swept floors that employees like Erik tread without a second thought. Hassan's mind was on his son, Amir, 6, who had asked for new boots that morning. "Mine have holes, Baba," the boy had said, pointing to the worn soles. Hassan promised to buy them, but his salary barely covered the rent for a cramped apartment in the suburbs. Erik and Hassan shared the same space, yet an invisible line divided them, a barrier of class, origin, and privilege. Erik, born in Bergen to teacher parents, had never needed to think about the cost of boots. Hassan, who had fled Syria's war 7 years earlier, carried the weight of rebuilding a life in a country that welcomed him but didn't always see him. That night, as Erik pored over spreadsheets, his phone buzzed. A text from his mother, "Coming this weekend? I'm sorting old albums." He smiled, thinking of his grandmother, Astrid, who had passed when he was 15. Astrid had been a union leader in the 1970s, organizing textile factory strikes. "Never bow your head, Erik," she'd say, her eyes alight. "But never close your eyes, either." He cherished those words, but in the rush of daily life, they felt distant, like an echo from another time. Downstairs, Hassan finished his shift. He checked his watch. 10 p.m. The last bus home left in 20 minutes. As he stored cleaning supplies, he heard raised voices in the storage room. It was Line, the cleaning agency supervisor, arguing with another worker, Aisha, a middle-aged Somali woman. "Want a raise? Find another job," Line snapped. "There's a line of people waiting for this one." Aisha lowered her head, muttering, and left. Hassan's stomach churned. He'd heard rumors the agency paid below the legal minimum, but confronting Line meant risking everything: the job, the rent, Amir's boots. The next day, Erik arrived at the office with dark circles under his eyes. The night had stretched late, reviewing reports until dawn. He grabbed coffee in the break room, noticing the spotless floor and empty bins. "Someone does this well," he thought, not lingering. In the elevator, he passed Hassan, who carried a bucket. Hassan offered a shy nod, but Erik, distracted, gave a curt grunt. The doors closed, and the invisible line held firm. At home, Hassan tried to stay upbeat. The apartment, a one-bedroom with peeling walls, smelled of damp. His wife, Noor, sewed a curtain by hand, while Amir drew with worn pencils. "Baba, when are we going to see the fish at the aquarium?" the boy asked, meaning Bergen's aquarium, a trip Hassan had promised for months. "Soon, Habibi," he replied, forcing a smile. But the budget wouldn't stretch. Rent, food, electricity, everything swallowed his pay. He knew he had to talk to Line, but fear held him back. What if he was fired? What if Noor and Amir ended up homeless? Upstairs, Erik faced his own pressures. His boss, Magnus, had announced an internal audit. "We need to cut costs," he'd said at the meeting, his smile not reaching his eyes. Erik knew what that meant: more overtime, fewer days off. He stared out the window, where the rain never stopped, and felt a hollowness. He earned well, had a cozy downtown apartment, but something was missing. His grandmother's words echoed, "Never close your eyes." He shook his head, pushing the thought away, and returned to his spreadsheets. The turning point came on a dreary Wednesday. Hassan, after weeks gathering courage, approached Line in the storage room. "I need to talk about my pay," he said, his voice steady but trembling. "I work 10 hours a day, and it's not enough to live. Line laughed, a harsh sound. Think you're special? If you're not happy, there's the door. Hassan pressed on, citing Norway's minimum wage, which he'd researched online. Line's eyes narrowed. Don't tell me how to do my job. You're done. Hassan stood frozen, his heart racing. He tried to argue, but Line was already leaving, phone in hand. I don't have time for this, she tossed over her shoulder, vanishing down the hall. In that moment, something broke inside him. Not just fear, but the shame of staying silent. He thought of Amir, his holy boots, and resolved not to return home defeated. Eric, by chance, was in the break room fetching water when he saw the scene through the storage room's glass. He didn't know Hassan, but he recognized Line and her cutting tone. Something in Hassan's face, a mix of despair and resolve, made him pause. He returned to his desk, but couldn't focus. The image lingered. The man in the uniform, his quiet voice, the woman dismissing him like he was nothing. For the first time, Eric felt the invisible line crack. That night, at home, Eric flipped through an old album his mother had sent. There was Astrid, in a black and white photo, holding a megaphone at a factory. He read the caption, 1974 strike. 4 fair wages. Astrid had faced foremen, police, even threats, but never backed down. You're like her, his mother always said. Eric closed the album, restless. He knew what was wrong in the storage room, but helping meant risk. What if Magnus, his boss, disapproved? What if he lost the promotion he'd been eyeing? Meanwhile, Hassan, in his apartment, told Noor what happened. They fired me, he admitted, his voice heavy. Noor took his hand. You did the right thing, Hassan. You can't live bending. Amir, listening from the corner, ran and hugged his father. You'll find another job, Baba. You're strong. Hassan smiled, but the weight of uncertainty crushed him. He had to act, not just for himself, but for Aisha, for others like them. The next day, Hassan returned to the building, not as an employee, but as a man with purpose. He met Aisha and other cleaners at the entrance before their shift. We can't accept this, he said, in halting Norwegian, but firm. If we stand together, they'll have to listen. Aisha, who had once lowered her head, nodded. I know more people. Let's talk to everyone. They spent the day reaching out to colleagues, jotting names, planning. It wasn't a strike yet, it was a whisper, a spark. Eric, in his office, saw the group through the window. He recognized Hassan, now without his uniform, talking to the others. Something stirred in him. He went downstairs, hesitant, and approached. What's going on? He asked, in clear Norwegian. Hassan looked surprised but answered, We're tired of being invisible. We want what's fair. Eric listened, and his grandmother's words hit like thunder. Never close your eyes. He knew he could walk away, return to his computer, to safety. But he also knew he couldn't pretend he didn't see. The following week, the whisper became a shout. Hassan, Aisha, and 20 cleaners staged a protest outside the building. They held simple, handwritten signs, fair wages now, and we are not invisible. Rain poured, but no one budged. Hassan spoke through a megaphone, his voice hoarse. We work for you, but who works for us? Passers-by stopped, some recorded, others clapped. Eric was there, not as a bystander, but as an ally. He'd requested a meeting with Magnus days earlier, raising the issue of the cleaning agency's contracts. Magnus had laughed, saying, That's not our responsibility. But Eric persisted, citing budget figures he'd analyzed himself. It wasn't just for Hassan, it was for Astrid, for himself, for something bigger. At the protest, he took the megaphone, nervous. My name's Eric Solberg, he began. I work inside. And I know they're wrong. You deserve better. The crowd cheered, and Hassan gave him a nod of respect. The protest didn't fix everything. The agency didn't cave immediately, and Hassan still needed a job. But something shifted. The company launched an internal investigation, pressured by local media covering the story. Hassan found work at a cleaning cooperative, with better pay. Eric lost his shot at a promotion but gained something unexpected, the feeling of not closing his eyes. Months later, Eric and Hassan met by chance at a Bergen cafe. Hassan, now in a new uniform, brought Amir, whose shiny boots gleamed. "Thank you," Hassan said, shaking Eric's hand. "You didn't have to." Eric smiled. "I did." They talked, laughed, shared coffee. The rain outside didn't feel so heavy. The invisible line that once divided them was gone. Final reflection. The invisible line isn't just Eric and Hassan's story. It's about the barriers we build without noticing, between classes, origins, lives. In Norway, where equality is a point of pride, there are still those who clean offices at night, who support families on scraps, who ask for justice and are ignored. But there are also those who choose to see, to listen, to act. Sometimes, the greatest courage isn't shouting, but reaching out. And sometimes, a small gesture, a protest, a word, makes all the difference.